सा देश जहां तुम चले.
और जनाब सुन रहे हैं आप रेडियो आज़ाद and this is Double Shot Espresso with life coach Tasneem and Ayesha. Hello.
Hello, how are we this morning?
We are very good and welcome to all of our viewers. We have a very interesting topic for you today, and that topic is about ghosting. Now, I didn't know much about what ghosting was until you explained it to me. So I was like, oh.
Absolutely. I think I'm no different from you. The way I learned about it is वो Instagram पे filters आते हैं ना that you play around with. So in one of them, the question that I was asked is, have you ever been ghosted? And I replied saying, yes, I have seen a spirit once. And then a friend DM'd me and said, I think you've got the meaning of ghosted wrong. And that's when I looked it up. So yeah, I mean, I'm no different from you.
All right. So ghosting, and when you explained it to me, I'm like, oh my God, this is like happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to a lot of different people, and it's just that we didn't even know that there was a term for it. तो नए ज़माने के term और लेकिन पुराने ज़माने के
हरकतें इज बेटर. अंदाज वो थोड़ा पॉजिटिव हो जाता है, राइट?
एग्जैक्टली. तो तस्नीम बताइएगा, व्हाट इज घोस्टिंग एंड टेल अस व्हाट इट्स ऑल अबाउट.
All right. So first, right off the bat, I think that this topic is very close to my heart. And when my friend explained it in the DM saying, I think you should look it up, I related it with it because it has happened to me. This was a time when I was in college and I had a best friend in college. I mean, we did everything together, from going to college together, sometimes even entering college together. So, you know, she would wait for me or I would wait for her, and then we would enter together. We would, yes, bunk classes too sometimes together, go to the same ice cream joint, blah, blah, blah. Imagine it, we did it all together. Now, all of a sudden, post-college, she vanished. I mean, that's it. I tried so many times to contact her. Of course, life took me out of India soon after college, so there was a long distance there. But, I mean, there were many, many ways, even during those times, that people kept in touch, but I never got a reply back. And to date, that bothers me, to be honest, because I keep wondering कि ऐसा क्या हो गया, you know, what really happened that really led her to completely cut off. And over these times when technology has advanced and with social media and all, of course, I've tried looking her up and sent out feelers to other common friends, but they have led me nowhere. All I do know that she's not a fan of social media, so doesn't have an account, though her sister does. I'll admit, I follow her sister somehow because she's always figuring on her feed, and I somehow still feel connected because of it. And I've always questioned myself thinking, ऐसा तुम क्यों कर रही हो? But I think because of the answers that somewhere a small part of me is looking for. Therefore, ghosting, I would say, and what even if you look up the internet, it says the same thing. That is when you abruptly cut off from somebody without any communication or any warning. And even if the person does reach out to you to re-engage, you are met with complete silence. And that is why the word ghosting, because it's very close to actually vanishing from somebody's life completely. Now, in that sense, then it would be, you know, communication without closure, like rejection without closure. And that can leave you with so many questions, right? I mean, you're thinking, what did I do wrong? What went wrong? Did someone else tell that person something that, you know, you don't know about? And you are left feeling confused, hurt, and sometimes even paranoid. I mean, I know a lot of people who can't just get over it. They're so obsessed by it that then they start literally stalking the person or just sending incessant messages in the hope that someday one of them will be replied.
So a couple of things that you have talked about that I was taking my notes. First of all, it is a form of rejection.
Yeah, I
right?
would think so, yes.
And then all the feelings associated with rejection actually come into play.
Yes,
right?
That's true.
Second thing is there's a lack of closure. So it actually keeps the person off balance,
Right. You're hanging on, hoping that someday there will be some ray of sunshine.
हाँ, so what we all crave as human beings is closure. और वो closure जब नहीं मिलता तो फिर mentally हमारी जो peace of mind है वो disturb हो जाती है.
Absolutely. And it's ambiguous in sense it's open for interpretation. So अगर आप किसी को ghost करते हैं या you've been ghosted, the person can just easily re-enter your life after a span of time and say, hey, you know, this happened. It was really, you know, terrible, and here I am again. So it is in that sense also not healthy because you're just leaving room for so much ambiguity.
Okay. I have a couple of more points, but we have some callers, so let's welcome them to the show. Radio Azad. Hello.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम लेडीज.
वालेकुम अस्सलाम.
मैं भी गोस्टिंग बात करूँगी, लेकिन मुझे ये पता है कि आयशा आप गोस्टिंग नहीं करती, आप जब भी जाती है 1 महीने की वेकेशन पे भी बता के जाती हैं.
है ना? 1 महीने की वेकेशन के मैंने ली भी नहीं है, लेकिन जी बिल्कुल.
Accusing you for nothing. Just kidding. आप बहुत डेडिकेटेड है अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह. अच्छा देखें, गोस्टिंग देखें बहुत दफा होता है हम लोग we take it too personal sometimes, लेकिन बहुत दफा ऐसा हुआ है, मैंने नोट मेरे साथ भी हुआ है कि उनके अपने कोई issues with they were not happy with their own life and what was going on, so they just cut off everyone. बहुत सारा ऐसा होता है, people go through tough time, divorce or anything. I've seen people just cutting off because they don't want to see no one. They don't want people to ask questions. So sometimes it's not really personal. Is the way their life is going for them, and they just wanted to put a pause on everything and then just deal with that stuff. So ये थोड़ा सा ये चीज भी माइंड में रखनी चाहिए. You didn't do nothing wrong. like तस्नीम ने से कहा कि आपके 3 दोस्त थे, तो जब ऐसा होता है ना, तो in my case मैंने बहुत लोगों को देखा है कि 80% of the time is something they are going through.
ठीक है. All right. Very good point. And we'll definitely talk about that. Thank you, Arjuman. Radio Azad, you're on the air.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम आयशा एंड तस्नीम.
वालेकुम अस्सलाम. कैसी हैं?
अल्लाह का शुक्र. आप लोग बातें कर रहे हैं गोस्टिंग के बारे में, मारे भूत की तरह बन जाना, गायब हो जाना. बिल्कुल. तो ये तो एक प्रैक्टिस होती है एंड इट इज अ वे ऑफ एंडिंग अ रिलेशनशिप सडनली. बट मैंने देखा है कई दफा ऐसा भी होता है कि हिंट्स शुरू से मिलने लगते हैं, स्लोली ड्रॉप आउट हो जाते हैं लोग. मगर गोस्टिंग का टर्म 95% ऑफ द टाइम रेफर्स टू सडन एंड ऑफ अ कम्युनिकेशन या रिलेशनशिप विदाउट एनी एक्सप्लेनेशन. तो ये तो फ्रेंड्स में भी होता है, इमोशनल रिलेशनशिप में भी, रोमांटिक रिलेशनशिप में भी, जहाँ पर प्रोफेशनल रिलेशनशिप में भी डिफरेंट वैरायटी, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ गोस्टिंग हैपेंस. बट ये भी एक है कि एक किस्म की ठंडक आ जाती है और ऐसा लगता है कि समथिंग इज नॉट राइट. बट वेरी रेयरली इट हैपेंस दैट यू आर वेरी वेरी क्लोज and then all of a sudden you don't hear from that person. As far as I am concerned, I've seen that there were reasons for it. 1971 की जब war हुई और उसके बाद जो हमारे बहुत अजीज फ्रेंड्स थे, relatives included, जब हम लोग कराची में मिले तो वो लोग ने हमें कांटेक्ट भी नहीं किया. और उनका प्रॉब्लम ये था कि कहीं वो ये हम उनसे कोई फेवर ना मांगे. तो जैसा अर्जुमन बता रही थी ना कि उनके कोई इश्यूज हो सकते हैं, तो वो उस सिलसिले में हुआ कि वो बिल्कुल ऐसा एक्ट किए कि कोई बने कांटेक्ट ही नहीं करना मांग रहे थे कि कहीं हम उनसे हेल्प ना मांगे.
How did that make you feel?
It is so discomforting. एक किस्म का इमोशनल अब्यूज होता है, एक किस्म का इमोशनल डिस्कम्फर्ट, एंड देन यू रियलाइज कि इट वॉज नॉट मेंट टू बी. ये लोग वर्दी ही नहीं है कि उनके साथ रिकनेक्ट किया जाए. वो और कई टाइम ऐसा होता है कि लोग गोस्टिंग इसलिए भी करते हैं क्योंकि उनमें इनसिक्योरिटीज हैं और वो एक किस्म का कंट्रोल और एग्रेसिव बिहेवियर एग्जर्ट करना मांगते. वो चाहते हैं कि दूसरा आदमी जिसके ऊपर ये गोस्टिंग कर रहे हैं वो बिल्कुल ब्रेक डाउन होके उनको अप्रोच करता रहे, और जब वो अप्रोच करता रहे या रही तो उनका ईगो बढ़ता जाता है, और वो एक किस्म का अपना कंट्रोल और अपना ईगो उसमें सेटिस्फाई करना. एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट किस्म का ये एक इमोशनल अब्यूज है जो पैसिव भी हो सकता है और एग्रेसिव भी होता है. मगर हम लोग क्योंकि दूसरे इतने चीजों से गुजर रहे थे एंड आगे चल के वो आदत भी बन गई कि अगर कोई ऐसा करता है या हिंट देते हैं तो इससे पहले कि वो एक सर्टेन स्टेज पे हम लोग कभी अप्रोच नहीं किए until unless it was very important which has not happened क्योंकि फ्रेंड्स जो थे वो बहुत क्लोज फ्रेंड्स थे मगर हम लोग ऐसे पीरियड से गुजर रहे थे कि हम अपना ही संभाल लें तो बहुत अच्छा था तो वी डिडंट गो इनटू द डिटेल्स एंड ऑल मगर मैंने देखा है मेरी कई फ्रेंड्स जिनको कोल्ड शोल्डर मिला है वो ऑस्ट्रेसाइज फील करते हैं वो ऐसा समझते हैं कि जैसा सोशल रिजेक्शन है एंड पीपल हैव गॉन इनटू डीप डिप्रेशन एंड रिजेक्शन एटीट्यूड यू नो फिर आगे चल के 1-2 साल बाद तक कांटेक्ट नहीं करेंगे फिर कोई खास ओकेजन पे ऑल ऑफ अ सडन कॉल आता है उस टाइम पे इम्पोर्टेंट है कि अगर आपके लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है तो कंटिन्यू पूछें क्या वजह थी या फिर यू जस्ट take your own path and be your own person and leave that controlling person जिनके पास इतनी empathy भी नहीं थी कि वो बताएं कि वो क्यों ऐसा कर रहे हैं you know तो ghosting एक किस्म का psychological कंट्रोल हुआ you know और एक किस्म का इमोशनल अब्यूज है 95% ऑफ द टाइम कई दफा ऐसा होता है कि अगर इंसान गुजर जाता है या वी डोंट हियर फ्रॉम देम दे हैव बीन वेरी सिक एंड ऑल तो कोई वजूहात निकल आती हैं बट 95% इट इज इंटेंशनली you know ये वर्ड उस सिलसिले में यूज किया जाता है ओके
Perfect. Thank you so much.
थैंक यू हैव अ गुड वन टेक केयर
Thank you so much for that. And such key words.
Yeah, so much
right?
meat in both the calls this morning.
I think that what I synthesized from SKFG's call was the word control and emotional abuse. And Tasneem, maybe you can talk a little bit about how does ghosting actually have some kind of physical impact on us as well?
Yes, most definitely. So, in fact, 2 fun facts. One, which answers your question, inshallah, is that it actually activates the same pathway in your brain as actual physical pain. So, what has been researched that emotional pain and physical pain are on the same neural pathways. So when you feel any emotional pain, it actually activates the same region of the brain. That is why you may notice that sometimes, you know, people indulge in excessive alcohol or resort to the bad habit of taking drugs in order to numb that portion of the brain, which actually is giving them that emotional distress or even if it is physical pain sometimes. And therefore, very interestingly, the fun fact, therefore it being a fact, that research indicates that just popping Tylenol sometimes helps relieve that emotional distress if it is too acute.
Really?
Yes, it's and in fact, meaning I have tried that option with certain clients who are going through extreme trauma or generally very, very distressed and in a very, very low spot. And I'm not saying it's the absolute relief and the only solution or the total solution, but for the time being, it does give you that relief. Another fun fact is that though, like even SKFG pointed out, is that often it's used in romantic relationships, the term ghosting, but just as we saw with her examples and even mine when I began, and you also said that it has happened to you, it does not really begin and end at romantic relationships. It happens in friendships, it happens all over. This term, ghosting, was coined 7 years-ish ago, but it found its place in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary in 2017.
Okay.
Although its origin goes back to 1990s, when ghostwriting was a term that was used in pop culture for people who wrote for other people as ghostwriters.
Interesting, interesting. All right, we have a caller. Let's see what they have to say. Radio Azad, hello.
हेलो आयशा मैं कहना चाह रही थी देखें लोग जो होते हैं ना वो चढ़ते सूरज के पुजारी होते हैं जहाँ पे फेम होता है जहाँ पे पॉपुलैरिटी होती है उस तरफ खींचते हैं और थोड़ा सा आपका कम हुआ तो वो फिर खींचने लगते हैं बोर होने लगते हैं आपसे बिकॉज अब देखें ना कोई भी चीज ऐसी हो जाए आप फेमस हो या आप या कुछ चीज भी जैसे किसी की लॉटरी निकल जाती है सो मेरी खबर के मुर्दे भी आके कहते हैं हम आपके दोस्त हैं तो ऐसे ही काम होता है कि बाद ना वो अब शुरू में देखिए किसी भी रिलेशनशिप में बहुत लोग घुस रहे होते हैं एंड देन दे गेट बोर्ड तो फिर वो पीछे हटना शुरू होते हैं. एंड आई थिंक दैट वो कहते हैं ना, वो इसमें भी ये भी एक आंसर है कि लोग चढ़ते पूजा सूरज के पुजारी होते हैं.
जी बिल्कुल.
जहाँ पे हानि होगा वहीं पे आएंगे.
ठीक है, good point. Thank you. So, ghosting, from what everybody is saying, and we're just getting started scratching the surface of this, is detrimental to the relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it is a working relationship. This whole thing about communication is the key to a good relationship. And you suddenly and abruptly you take that aspect out, what is it going to do to the relationship? So that's something that we have to talk about. Let's take a caller. Radio Azad, you're on the air. Hello.
नमस्ते जी. आप
नमस्ते.
दोनों लोगों को बहुत बहुत नमस्कार. मेरा
कैसी हैं?
ठीक हूँ. अभी ग्रोसरी पिकअप करने गई थी.
अच्छा.
क्योंकि सवेरे में ठंडा रहता है ना, तो ले आके रख रहे.
आपके साथ ये हुआ है कि किसी ने बिल्कुल कम्युनिकेशन कट ऑफ किया है?
नो,
नहीं. वेरी लकी.
ऐसी हैपन नहीं हुई है, लेकिन जिंदगी में कुछ लोगों के साथ ऐसा होता है कि जो असल में ज्यादा क्लोज भी जो लोग रहते हैं ना, कभी कभी ऐसा हो जाता है कि वो दूर हो जाते हैं. कोई ऐसी बात कोई किसी को कह देता है जिससे बहुत बड़ी तकलीफ हो जाती है, मन में इमोशन हो जाता है. उस इमोशन की वजह से आदमी बहुत दुखी हो जाता है. तो ऐसा होता है, पर मेरे जिंदगी में तो ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि कोई ऐसा करे.
Very nice, Mamta ji. Thank you so much. So Mamta ji actually brings up a very good point. So there can be a natural distancing of the relationship. What we're talking about today is where there's an abrupt
Absolutely
change in the relationship, right?
I had that in one of my points. So I'm so glad it's come up now. Drifting apart is different from ghosting. Drifting apart is where circumstantially or life, personalities, experiences, they drift you apart, जो हम अक्सर देखते हैं relationships में, friendships में होता है. But ghosting, as you rightfully pointed out, is an abrupt, or rather without any kind of indication, where the person just is gone.
Okay. Why do we see ghosting in relationships?
Meaning, now again, to connect it with the term that is largely used with romantic relationships primarily, and then, as we said, it definitely filters down across the board as well. I feel personally it's mainly because of the online world currently. I mean, it's always been happening. My situation, the story I shared was way back in 1995, 96. So it's not that it's not been happening, but we feel that, and we see an increase in it, because I think with online dating and, these friendships, which are purely in the virtual world, they take away the social accountability aspect of it. So when you are not in a public setting, so to speak, there is no one that you are kind of accountable to if you do something bizarre. In the online world, where you have thousands and hundreds of people that you meet on a daily basis, how difficult it is to say, okay, who's next, or swipe left, or whatever it is that the millennials these days are used to. So I think it's a term that's catching on with the younger generation. Not saying again that the internet has got only disadvantages, but definitely one of them has been that it takes away the accountability factor, and we see an increase in ghosting.
Isn't it better, Tasneem, to do ghosting rather than to actually tell the person, hey, you're not my cup of tea, or double shot espresso?
I hope no one says that ever, that we are not your double shot espresso. We'd always want to be your double shot espresso. But yes, definitely, I would agree that it takes a little bit of, how should I say, ownership to be able to say that, hey, I'm not interested in taking this relationship forward, or for whatever it is. You got to face the other person's feelings. You need to say what you want to say in words. But I feel without them, what you're learning in the bargain then is a sheer lack of communication where healthy relationships are concerned. And also, you are also self-teaching yourself really bad problem-solving skills. Because eventually, somewhere in life, you will need to deal and solve many problems, not only the ones that you're dealing with that person. And if escapism, or just a that's it, I'm gone, run off, take off is your solution, it really doesn't work that way. So I feel it takes a man with honor and a woman with correct spirit, pure spirit, to actually own up and say, hey, I think this is what it is.
Mm-hmm. I read somewhere that people with avoidant personalities do this. They have been ghosted in the past. They have that whole their inability to form a bond or attachment with somebody. Faced parental rejection as a child. Or it all boils down to those parental issues, right? Trust dependency issues. They are the ones who engage in this kind of behavior. Why? Why do people do this?
I think it's a very good observation, and there definitely could be a connection, as is to all the bad habits or not so good traits that we pick up along the way journey of our lives. Your upbringing, your parental influences, the friendships you've kept, the experiences you've had, always will have an impact on the way you treat your own relationships. And it is said that if you have, what you're doing if when you're ghosting somebody is you're adding to the societal flakiness, and in that sense actually increasing your risks of being ghosted in return by 75%.
Learned behavior, huh?
So yeah, imagine that. Okay. But I completely agree that yes, that could be one of the reasons where you've had upbringing issues regarding that. Other than that, I think it's the easy route. It's you don't have to face no one. There are no questions asked. There is no justification that you need to give for your behavior. No, no hysterics, no drama. You're just gone. Mm-hmm. So definitely an easy way out. And then again, the another reason also being what we just discussed कि भाई इंटरनेट आजकल इतनी एक खुली जगह हो गई है जहाँ पे अकाउंटेबिलिटी बहुत कम हो गई है और आप what's next करके आगे निकल जाते हैं.
सुन रहे हो आप रेडियो आजाद and this is Double Shot Espresso with life coach Tasneem and Ayesha, and you are watching us on the Radio Azad Facebook page. Do hit that like button and subscribe to receive notifications. Number one, join our Radio Azad Facebook group as well. And by the way, best way to listen to us is simply by downloading the Radio Azad iPhone or Android app, and you can listen to us anywhere in the world. And if you're not internet savvy, then you can simply dial a phone number, and that number is 425-426-1239. 425-426-1239. Really easy number. Dial कीजिए और फिर आप जो है you can listen to our live streaming. Put that phone on speaker, and it can be a home phone if those still exist in your home. Then you can even use your home phone and put it on speaker, and then you'll be able to listen to us. Alrighty, let's take a caller. Radio Azad, you're on the air.
Hello, good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Very good show. And my input is that कि बच्चे जहाँ रेज हुए हैं जो एक ही हैं जिनके पास सिबलिंग नहीं है, जो इंट्रोवर्ट पर्सन हैं, और मीन्स रिलेशनशिप में हमेशा अगर ब्रेक हो रहा है या कुछ गैप हो रहा है तो उसमें क्या है, कोई बोलता है अच्छा वो मेरे को नहीं पूछे तो मैं क्यों पूछूं, so the understanding is not the same page. And then fourth is that people are like user these days. Okay, मेरा काम निकल गया अभी, so I have another crowd now, I have another friendship में कहाँ रिलेशनशिप में आप कहाँ तक यूज हो रहे हैं वहां तक लोग आज कर भी रहे हैं. So it's a give and take relationship. People and there's nothing wrong about it either, that is okay, but people do need to stand up, and when the person indeed genuinely, जैसे हम लोगों के neighbors sick थे and then the war was going, so we were 3 girls in the house, my father let them come in, but as soon as our other neighbor figured out, they threatened us, and we could not tell them that we are in trouble now. But we kept them in 2 days with us underground. We were with them, and then we hide them and let them go, from the back door. And now we have to move some. And after that, they never spoke to us. So that was like, we were heartbroken, that we have to save our life too,
Yeah.
So sometimes that understanding, that, they came back. I don't know if they ever figure out, but we never open our mouth, So try to understand somebody other person situation, how they are, where are. And you never know. So try to do from your end, your best.
Very good point. Very good point. कभी कभी ऐसी situations आ जाती हैं, thank you so much for that, आ जाती हैं आपकी ज़िंदगी में और आप justify नहीं कर सकते. You cannot talk about it, and the person gets left in the dark, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting. That's a whole different dimension.
I know. I was just thinking, that's why I paused. I'm like, okay, वो इसमें बहुत सारे layers आते हैं फिर.
जी. Continue.
तो अब अगर हम थोड़ी बात करें कि somebody asked me when I was just talking that हम ये Wednesday का ये show कर रहे हैं, and they said तो फिर is there anything to watch out for? Like ऐसी कोई signs मिलती हैं जो red flags होते हैं जो हम notice नहीं करते? Is there something that you can really look out for to give you an indication कि भाई ये बंदा या बंदी हमें ghost करने वाले हैं? So and I'd like to open that question up to our listeners as well, that when you look back, if you've ever been ghosted, were there any signs that you didn't pick up? Were there something that you could have listened to that you realized later कि हाँ मैंने ये notice नहीं किया वो वक्त? मैं जब अपनी जो मैंने कहानी शेयर की वहाँ पे मैं अगर सोचने जा रही हूँ तो I didn't really have any signs because it was just so abrupt, till the very last day that I was leaving, there were bye-byes and, let's keep in touch. And then that's it. When I was gone, there was nothing. And every time I reached out, I was met with silence. So I feel it definitely depends from situation to situation. But if at all there were some signs, I think, I mean, not in my situation, but otherwise, generally speaking, I would say that I think जब आपको एक, एक short replies मिलने शुरू हो जाते हैं, आप long text करते हैं या जो भी अगर जो normal general text भी करते हैं, पर उनके yes or no जवाब आते हैं या बहुत ही short आते हैं, तो that's definitely a sign.
Irritation, irritability, avoidance, phone नहीं उठाना,
बिल्कुल,
plans cancel करना,
जी बिल्कुल, that too,
being stood up.
या और मैसेजेस को भी अगर आपको पता है कि हम तो व्हाट्सएप के ब्लू टिक्स देख के अपना कितने सारे communication is based on, but she has seen my message, but he has seen my message and not yet replied. So if you feel the person has seen the message and is taking so long to reply, not really replying back other than that, so then I think these are all signs. And also sometimes they're very great in texting, but when you meet them in person, you feel that they are very distant and just not there. That actually, there's a term for it. It's called soft ghosting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So soft ghosting is where the person does not really totally cut you off, but just does not give you a that response that you're looking for. So even online, sometimes they will kind of like your post or they will put a comment on it, and then if you ask a follow-up question or thank you, how are you, for example, and then that's it, there will be nothing. Or when they meet you in person, they'll be like, oh, I don't know you, whereas online you're like Facebook friends and liking each other's posts and stuff like that.
So is that different from breadcrumbing?
See, now that's another term. Very, very similar, I would think. But I feel soft ghosting then again could be referred to more on the, the relationship, the friendship, more on the romantic relationship side where you're soft ghosting someone.
And explain breadcrumbing as well. Okay, let's take a caller. Radio Azad, you're on the air.
जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
वालेकुम अस्सलाम.
आपको टॉपिक के बारे में थोड़ा सा शेयर करना चाहूंगी. इट्स हैपन लॉन्ग टाइम अगो. मेरे साथ एक कोलीग थी, मेरी काम करती थी, बहुत अच्छी दोस्ती थी हमारी, बहुत ही अच्छी, यानी कि हम साथ बैठ के खा रहे हैं, प्लान्स बना रहे हैं, कर रहे हैं. आई डोंट नो व्हाट हैपेंड, ऑल ऑफ अ सडन वो बिल्कुल मुझसे उन्होंने बातचीत करना बंद कर दी और ऐसे जैसे बिल्कुल अजनबी हो जाते हैं ना, इस तरीके से हो गई थी. और मुझे उसका रीजन भी नहीं पता चला कि क्यों हुई थी वैसे. काफी अर्से के बाद जाकर एक्चुअली हम दोनों साथ काम करते थे वहीं पर, उनकी कोई रिश्तेदार भी यंग बची थी वो काम करने के लिए, तो मेरी उससे बहुत अच्छी दोस्ती हो गई थी. मैं बहुत जल्दी फ्रेंडशिप कर लेती हूँ, स्पेशली यंग बच्चों को, क्योंकि उनको एडवाइस करना, बताना. वो बिल्कुल न्यूली मैरिड थी, वो उनकी रिश्तेदार थी, वो वहाँ काम करने आई थी. So I don't know, maybe उनको पसंद नहीं आई होगी ये बात कि मैं रिश्तेदार इनकी हूँ, ये उनसे क्यों दोस्ती कर रही हैं और अपनी पर्सनल बातें उनसे क्यों शेयर कर रही हैं। तो खैर मैंने इतना ध्यान नहीं दिया। उसके बाद मैं मालूम करती रही, पूछती रही उनसे कि आप नाराज हैं, क्या बात है, बात नहीं कर रही हैं। वो मुझे कोई जवाब नहीं देती थी, हट जाती थी वहाँ से। तो फिर फाइनली काफी टाइम ट्राई करने के बाद जब मुझे कुछ नहीं पता चला तो मैं भी फिर फासले से हो गई, उनके साथ डिस्टेंस से हो गई। फिर मैंने कहा भाई अगर वो बात करना ही नहीं चाहती, दोस्ती रखना ही नहीं चाहती, तो मुझे जबरदस्ती उनके सर पे मुसल्लत होने की क्या जरूरत है। तो मैंने भी फिर उनसे डिस्टेंस कर लिया था। बाद में काफी अरसे के बाद जाकर मुझे बहुत तकलीफ हुई थी, बहुत दुख हुआ था कि ऐसे कैसे लोग कर सकते हैं ना किसी के साथ भी, जहाँ आप साथ बैठ के खा रहे हो, हर चीज अपनी शेयर कर रहे हो, फिर समझने भी हो जाए। इट हर्ट्स मी अ लॉट, यू नो। मैं स्टिल अभी भी सोचती हूँ तो मुझे तकलीफ होती है बहुत। फिर काफी सालों के बाद मैंने उस बच्ची से दोबारा पूछा, मैंने कहा वो तुम्हारी आंटी थी, वो काम करती थी, क्या वजह थी, वो क्यों मुझसे नाराज हुई थी? तो कहने की वो पसंद नहीं करती थी कि तुम तो कल की आई हुई हो, तुमने उनसे भी दोस्ती कर ली है और अपनी बातें शेयर कर रही हो उनसे। So I mean sometimes it happens like that, you know. और स्पेशली जो इंटरनेट की दोस्तियां होती हैं ये तो बहुत आर्जी होती हैं, इनके ऊपर तो कभी ट्रस्ट करना ही नहीं चाहिए। सबसे पहले तो आपको पता ही नहीं होता कि उसके पीछे बैठा हुआ कौन है।
जी।
और
जब
सबसे बड़ी बात तो यही है। तो ये तो मेरे ख्याल में बहुत बड़ी हिमाकत है कि आप उनके साथ ठीक है दोस्ती वक्ती तौर पे करें, आप डिस्कशन करें डिफरेंट टॉपिक्स पे, पर अपनी पर्सनल बातें किसी को ना बताएं, तो वो आगे जाके आपके लिए बड़ी खतरनाक हो जाती हैं।
एक तो आपकी कॉल का बहुत शुक्रिया। आपको जब पता चला कि रीजन पता चला, सो कुछ दिल में सुकून आया या और बेचैनी हुई?
मतलब सुकून तो नहीं कह सकती, मुझे बल्कि हैरत हुई थी। और मुझे ये हुआ था कि मतलब इतनी समझदार खातून है आप, अगर ऐसा किसी बच्ची के साथ मैं उसकी हेल्प कर रही हूँ, अभी अभी आई है, तो इसमें तो आपको खुश होना चाहिए। तो मुझे तकलीफ हुई थी एक्चुअली में बहुत ज्यादा कि लोग इतनी छोटी जहनियत रखते हैं अपनी ना, कि मतलब थोड़ा सा तो सब्र होना चाहिए ना। और ऐसा नहीं कि वो कोई यंग थी, अच्छी खासी बड़ी उम्र की थी, बड़े बड़े बच्चे थे उनके, मतलब तो और वो इस हद तक चली गई थी आखिर में तो कि वो एक कहते हैं ना जिसको दुश्मनी पर आ गई थी। तो फिर मैंने तो बिल्कुल डिस्टेंस कर लिया था उनसे। मैंने कहा नहीं ये बेकार है यहाँ पर। ऐसा मेरे साथ बहुत हुआ है वैसे। अब आप यकीन करेंगे ये इतने बुरे बुरे एक्सपीरियंसेस हैं मेरे कि अब मुझे ना किसी से भी दोस्ती करते हुए डर लगता है। मैं मेरे फ्रेंड साहब मैं बातचीत सबसे करती हूँ, हंसी मजाक, ऐसा नहीं कि मुंह फुला के बैठे हैं, महफिल में भी जाते हैं तो अच्छे से बात कर, लेकिन मुझे ना जैसे कहते हैं ना क्लोज बेस्ट फ्रेंड बनाते हुए डर लगता है।
राइट। पर जब आप अभी सोचते हैं,
है मेरे अंदर अभी,
या व्हेन यू थिंक अबाउट इट नाउ, ऐसी कोई आपको लगती है कि भाई ये साइंस थी जो मैंने पिकअप नहीं की?
हाँ, साइंस ये थी कि वो जैसे हम आते थे, कॉक इन करते थे तो फौरन एक दूसरे के पास जाते थे, सलाम दुआ करते थे, वो छोड़ दिया था उन्होंने। वो नहीं आती थी। इन सब चीजों ने जब ये जो छोटे छोटे साइंस आ रहे थे तो फिर मैं गई थी उनके पास पूछने के लिए कि आप क्या नाराज हैं, आप बात नहीं कर रही है जैसे पहले करती थी। तो कोई जवाब नहीं आता था उनकी तरफ से, वो अलग हट जाती थी। वो फिर वो जैसे हमारे समझा हमारा लंच साथ होता था तो पहले हम शेयर करते थे दूसरे का लंच ना, वो लंच में भी वो अलग बैठने लगी थी। तो ये चीजें काफी मतलब हर्टिंग थी मेरे लिए ना।
बिल्कुल। और आप अकेली नहीं है, ये जो आपने कहानी बहुत होता है और जो आपने एक्सपीरियंस किया, इट्स वेरी वेरी कॉमन।
Absolutely.
Very common, yeah, I know. ये मेरी छोटी वाली बेटी जो थी ना, वो उसके साथ भी ये हुआ था। उसके लिए बहुत बेस्ट फ्रेंड थी। वो शुरू में यहाँ अमेरिका है, हम लोग पहले आ चुके थे, तो वो सारा दिन मेरे घर गुजारती थी। हमने उनको बहुत मतलब वो तो होता है ना अपने वतन से लोग आए हैं उनकी हेल्प करें, एक स्कूल है, एक जगह जा रहे हैं सब बच्चे। तो अचानक से जो है पता नहीं क्या हुआ क्या नहीं, वो उसने मेरे घर आना छोड़ दिया। मैंने अपनी बेटी से पूछा तो कहने की उनकी अम्मी ने मना कर दिया है। तो मैंने कहा तुमने वजह पूछी क्यों मना किया है? कहने की बस उन्होंने मना करा कि तुम इसके घर नहीं जाओगी। वो चीज भी बहुत तकलीफ दी थी उसके लिए, काफी अर्से तक वो डिस्टर्ब रही थी। फिर मैंने उसको समझाया, मैंने कहा बेटा ऐसा होता है दुनिया में, तो इसको जो है ना आप बहुत ज्यादा हार्ड ना लें। तो
Excellent.
It's really disturbing, but it happens.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for calling and sharing this experience. Wonderful call.
You're welcome. Anytime.
All right, Janab.
It's
Excellent.
I mean, it's a sensitive subject, people, because definitely it feels like literally loss or grief of some kind.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, we have a caller. Radio Azad, you're on the air.
हेलो आयशा, एक और रीजन होता है कि बहुत वेरी वेरी कॉमन है कि लोग आपके बारे में कुछ सुन लेते हैं, यू नो, फ्रॉम XYZ, एंड देन वो दे स्टार्ट जजिंग यू एंड दे स्टार्ट अपना डिस्टेंस रखना शुरू कर देते हैं, एंड दे जस्ट बिलीव व्हाटएवर दे हियर. ये बहुत स्पेशली औरतों में बहुत होता है ये, यू नो. और दूसरे ये कि बाज़ दफा ना सेंस ऑफ इनसिक्योरिटीज भी होती हैं लोगों की.
Oh yes, yes.
So
absolutely.
that is one of the reason as well.
Yeah. All right, Arjuman, thank you. So the previous caller, Tasneem, there are two things that jumped out at me, and really it's a story that I think everybody can relate to, right?
Yeah.
Ek to ye, she said this has happened to her multiple times. Why? Is it something that is in our personality that we are doing that is causing other people to ghost us all the time?
I do not think that it is something in your personality at all. Though, however, I would have to say that sometimes we are slow learners in matters of the heart, and friendships and relationships obviously stem from there. So when you don't learn your lessons and you kind of do a repeat, not watchful of the red flags, not keeping space for your own personal boundaries le le ya self respect le le ya jo bhi hai, depending on the type of relationship we are talking about, usme fir kabhi masail ho jate hain, and you're kind of attracting that same kind of pattern. So I think breaking that pattern, learning from it, and actually I am always a strong contender of writing कि मैं अगर जब next relationship, next friendship में जाऊंगी तो ये मुझे lessons याद रखने हैं. By writing it down, they're staring at you in black and white, and your thoughts now become action. So it's so important to empty that head out.
All right, let's see. We have a couple of callers. Radio Azad, you're on the air. Hello.
Ghosted.
Radio Azad, you're on the air.
Hello, ladies, I'm back. I just want to tell you that one thing, like everybody's mentioning, like we helped, we did this, we did that, you know, and we are heartbroken. That's the result, end of the result. So when it happened to all of us, when you're helping, nobody asked you to, you know, then that's why they say always help somebody ask you. Do not help. And if you're doing it with your own goodwill, then, you know, don't expect anything back. So this way you won't be heartbroken left. And like my mom helping, like, you know, India se aaye hain, chalo hum ye de dete hain, unko ye de dete hain. In the end, now we are equal. Why should we talk to them? You know, she helped because she wanted to help. We didn't ask the help.
Right. But it's a situation जहाँ पे आप इतने इमोशनली इन्वेस्टेड ना हो. अगर बहुत करीब एक रोमांटिक रिलेशनशिप है या एक बहुत गहरी दोस्ती है, बेस्ट फ्रेंड्स में भी ये सिचुएशन हुई है जहाँ पे दो सालों डेकेड्स के लिए दोस्त थे और एक दिन इन्होंने बस बातचीत बंद कर दी. राइट. तो उस सिचुएशन में फिर जाहिर बात है एक्सपेक्टेशंस तो बिल्ड होती हैं इन दैट काइंड ऑफ अ सिचुएशन ऑल्सो. राइट.
Yeah, usme desire hai. I understand. First of all, do not like without desire help. One thing. The second thing, long relationship. I understand. Like for long time you've been and expectation do develop. उसमें एक बारी अपनी तरफ से जाके you clear and then just one time only and then leave on the person. Hey, this is my thing. You know that's why this happened. और कुछ लोग अपनी fault ही नहीं कभी मानना चाहते. वो admit ही नहीं करते हैं. रिसेंटली मेरी बेटी जो है बहुत अच्छी फ्रेंड है, अभी वो पैचअप कर रही है, वो न्यूयॉर्क से इस वीक आ रही है, तो होपफुली दे पैचअप. आई टोल्ड हर यू डोंट टेल hey it was my fault, admit it, say sorry, tell her that our friendship for 7 years we were going on and one mistake you cannot forgive. A lot of people does not accept them faults, you know. So and then अगर misunderstanding है तो उसको एक बारी बैठ के जरूर मौका दीजिए, क्लियर करिए, you know.
जी बिल्कुल. अगर वो मौका नहीं देते, अगर आपने, जैसे हमारी प्रीवियस कॉलर ने भी कहा था, बहुत दफ़ा उन्होंने कोशिश की, क्या हुआ, मैंने कुछ किया, आप क्यों नाराज़ हैं, लेकिन दूसरे साइड से कोई जवाब नहीं आ रहा, वो अपनी फीलिंग्स इमोशंस शेयर ही नहीं करना चाह रहे. व्हाट डज वन डू इन दैट सिचुएशन?
मेरे ख्याल से उस वक्त फिर ऑब्वियसली ये डीलिंग में हम उसके बारे में भी थोड़ी ज़्यादा इलेबरेटली बात करेंगे, बट हियर टू जस्ट आंसर योर क्वेश्चंस, क्वेश्चन इज़ दैट एक बार आप पूछ सकते हैं, 2 बार आप पूछ सकते हैं, 3 बार आप पूछ सकते हैं. आफ्टर दैट यू नीड टू स्टॉप. The reason I say that do ask, because in that rare blue moon situation that something is wrong, you know, they've had an accident or there has been a death in the family that has just taken them off into a loop. You do not want to feel guilty then that you just sat down and, you know, just kind of assume that the person doesn't want to keep in touch. You reached out. But after that third time, you need to tell yourself that that's it. The person has moved on and I need to let go. Still, metaphorically, if you need to have a closure and you have a strong need for that, I have advised people to actually send that last message and say, I have reached out to you a couple of times, but I do understand, and your silence speaks clearly that you do not want to continue this friendship or relationship. I respect you for that, and hasta la vista, goodbye.
So we are seeing a lot of it from the person who has been ghosted, उनके point of view से, right? अब दूसरी point of view से देखते हैं. Let's flip it on its side. लोग क्यों ghost करते हैं?
Okay.
क्यों नहीं clear communication करते हैं and express what they have to do?
So, जैसे कि हमने पहले भी बातें इसके ऊपर थोड़ी की हैं कि उनके लिए firstly तो it's an easy way out. Yeah, they do not want to face the hysterics or the drama. They don't want to justify their behavior and they just want to get out. The second reason also, as we said, is कि भाई ये जो आजकल instant validation और instant जो हम मज़े लेते हैं through social media, उनकी एक आदत सी पड़ गई है, तो उसमें एक जो सोशल अकाउंटेबिलिटी का एक ह्यूमन ट्रेट है वो बहुत कम हो गया है. एंड thirdly, I think, is what you said is based on your upbringing and your experiences. If you've had those kind of, if you've learned those lessons either wrongly or correctly, in the sense they've been taught to you by your parents कि भाई यही करना है, ऐसे ही कर लो, तो फिर उसकी वजह से भी हो जाता है.
And control, right?
And the need, जैसे SKF जी ने in the beginning of the call बताया था कि एक passive aggressive behavior हो जाता है जहाँ पे आप relationship को control कर सकते थे. And I think over here it goes very well with what you said about breadcrumbing, you know, where you throw these small morsels of interest. है ना, आपने एक text कर लिया, एक message कर लिया, एक छोटा सा, you know, कुछ interest दिखा दिया, but then there is nothing substantial. It is also what we call mind games. You blow hot, you blow cold, you just leave the person not knowing where they stand.
But are they not realizing if that person, if that relationship really means something to them, don't they care that they're just totally destroying that relationship by doing this? It's like a boomerang effect almost.
Yeah, I mean, I do not like to sound judgmental ever, but for the lack of a better feeling that is arising within me right now, I would say that yes, they do not care enough to actually think about your feelings. They are very bothered about or self-involved in what they are going through. And sometimes they could be really going through stuff, like a lot of our callers said initially, कि उनकी ही वजूहात होती हैं, उनके ही reasons होते हैं. It's got really nothing to do with you. Okay. But yeah, it's definitely a lack of caring.
All 3 lines blinking. Let's quickly take our callers one by one. Radio Azad, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, lovely topic. I think there are so many factors that play an important part, you know, in ghosting. But I think, you know, sometimes boundaries also play a very important part. And you try to keep relationship, but if the governments don't want that kind, you know, people to meet or talk or be friendly, then you automatically drop that relationship. Yeah. Because you can't cope up with it. It's some other hidden factor that plays an important part in your relationship, which is beyond your control.
Okay, thank you.
And the other thing I want to ask is, you know, you say that, ghostwriter and falana. But in some third world countries, I have seen that people sit for another person in the exams to give the exams. What do you call it? You do? I don't think you can call them ghost. People who are giving exams in place of the other person. So what do you call them?
Let's call them a ghost sitter. Radio Azad, you're on the air.
वैसे मैं एक पॉइंट देना चाहूंगी, उससे पहले आपके टॉपिक पे बड़ा अच्छा शेयर जाता है कि गो जरा सी बात पर बरसों के याराने गए, लेकिन इतना तो हुआ कुछ लोग पहचाने गए। तो एक तरह से अच्छा भी होता है ये। और दूसरी की जब मैं समझती हूँ कि जो लाइफ जितनी फास्ट जा रही है ना, फास्ट फूड, वेंडिंग मशीन एंड दिस एंड दैट, पीपल आर लुकिंग फॉर इंस्टेंट रिजल्ट। Nobody wants to put that much effort and time and what do you call into the relationships.
Yep.
That's one of the reasons as well.
बिल्कुल, instant gratification. Radio Azad, you're on the air.
हाँ आयशा, 6 वजूहात मैं बता देती हूँ one by one immediately. एक तो convenience. A lot of people find it very convenient and easy. उसमें number 2, no depth in that relationship. There was no empathy, no depth in relationship. Number 3, avoidance type of personality है जो कर रहे हैं ये. Number 4, no patience. They don't have any patience to go approach, do it. Dump करना, गायब हो जाना उनकी personality है. Number 5, control and insecurity in themselves. And number 6, कई दफा ये necessary है ghosting करना, especially in stalker's case, या when you are seeing that person is becoming over controlling, the other person is becoming over controlling and all. तो कई दफा 5% in cases I've seen necessity हो जाती है. So ये 6 points है. If you all find it suitable, you can go one by one on them. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
I want to jump straight to the number 6. Because that's exactly what I was wanting to add. When you asked me, when is it like that you are ghosted? What about the ghoster? When is it okay to ghost? It is okay to ghost when you are in an abusive relationship, when you are going through so much that there is just no other way than to disappear completely. And that could be emotional or, physical abuse. Secondly, it's okay to ghost when your boundaries are not being respected, when the person just, so for example, just stalks you, shows up at your work unannounced, disrespects you. It's okay to ghost when you've said no to the relationship or to the friendship. You've explained and you've said, I don't think I want to pursue this any further, but the person just doesn't take the answer, doesn't take your hint or your clear words. So for your own safety, for your own peace of mind, sometimes if that is the situation, then definitely it is okay to ghost.
Interesting. All right. So, well, this hour just flew by.
Absolutely.
And we loved your participation. There's so much more to talk about in this for this topic. We are going to end our Facebook Live, so you can join us on the app, Radio Azad app, or listen to us on 104.9 FM HD3. Let's just take a last caller before we get off Facebook. Radio Azad, you're on the air. Hello.
नमस्ते आयशा जी।
जी नमस्ते।
कह रही थी, एक अभी बात याद आई है। एक है कोई, वो हमसे कोई किसी से न लड़ाई है न झगड़ा है, बस एकाएक कोई फोन नहीं करता है। तब भी मेरी ये आदत है कि मैं उससे फोन करती हूँ, लेकिन इस बार एक्सीडेंटली मैंने ही फोन नहीं किया। मैंने सोचा कि जब वो हमको नहीं, ये हमारे हस्बैंड की राय है कि जब आपको कोई फोन नहीं करता तो आप क्यों उनको फोन करती है। लेकिन मेरी आदत है कि अगर कोई नहीं करता है, एक बार नहीं किया, 2 बार, तो मैं उससे बात करती हूँ, फोन करती हूँ, क्योंकि मुझसे किसी से कोई झगड़ा नहीं, लड़ाई नहीं है। ऐसे कोई भी सिचुएशन हो सकती है जिससे कि वो मान ला दुखी है, उसके ऊपर कोई दुख पड़ा है।
आप अपने तौर से ट्राई करते हैं टू रिपेयर द रिलेशनशिप। बिल्कुल। All right. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for your participation. We're going to continue the show on the Radio Azad app, 104.9 FM HD3. Our phone number, try it. Our streaming phone number, 425-426-1239. Still so much coming up. What have you done when you have been ghosted in relationships? And how have you resolved this issue in your mind. Let's get there. You're listening to Double Shot Espresso with Tasneem and Ayesha.
This is your radio.
You are listening to Radio Azad, KZMP Pilot Point, 104.9 FM,